They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics.
Hard line stance for one of the Bay Area's largest companies, Google, telling all employees they will need to show proof of being fully vaccinated or get an exemption by January 18th. If they don't, they could be fired. NBC Bay Area's Marianne Favreau is at Google headquarters in Mountain View with a closer look.
You can bet that other high-tech companies in Silicon Valley will be watching closely to see how the company implements its new vaccine mandate. While some Google employees have returned to the office, thousands still work from home and will continue to for months, if not longer. But Google is now telling all employees, no matter where they work, they'll need to be fully vaccinated or apply for an exemption by January 18th. Those who don't could lose pay and ultimately their jobs. Google declined our interview request, but issued a statement saying, "Our vaccination requirements are one of the most important ways we can keep our workforce safe and keep our services running. We're committed to doing everything possible to help our employees who can get vaccinated do so and firmly stand behind our vaccination policy." Google is Silicon Valley's largest employer with more than 36,000 employees and has long been seen as a business bellwether. It issued the mandate after the Biden administration ordered U.S. companies with 100 or more workers to ensure their employees are fully vaccinated or regularly tested for COVID-19 by January 18th. But even though a federal court issued a stay on the order last month, Google is not changing its requirements. Tech analyst Tim Baharin says other Silicon Valley companies will be monitoring the tech giant.
They're going to be watching how the protests go as well, and what kind of blowback they get from employees. at Google.
Several employees we talked with off camera today told us they support the mandate because they want as much protection from COVID as possible when they do return to the office. But not all Google employees feel that way. According to CNBC, several hundred have signed a manifesto opposing the mandate.
I don't believe that will have any impact on Google's leadership decision to enforce it.
In Mountain View, Marianne Favreau, NBC Bay Area News.
Study has revealed that the Pfizer vaccine provides less immunity to the Omicron variant than other strains of COVID-19. However, South African researchers say a third dose of the vaccine still offers a degree of protection against the highly mutated variant. Joining us now for more is Sam Fazeli, head of research for Bloomberg Intelligence. Sam, very good to have you with us. I'm interested in your broad picture take on what we've heard so far. Important to say this is not from Pfizer themselves. This is some research in South Africa, though, the epicenter of the Omicron outbreak. I'm interested in what it says to you, and specifically I'm interested because in the level of utility, I suppose, for this vaccine, because they say it's going to be less effective against Omicron, but they've compared it to the original strain of COVID-19, and we know that these vaccines already had proven themselves a little less effective against some of the more recent strains. So what's your overall view?
Yeah, good morning, Anna. First of all, I want to really congratulate the scientists for getting this data out so quickly. And the tests were done against live virus, not some engineered version that looks like the current virus. So that is an amazing achievement. I'm not reading this data as positively as some people seem to be. The 41.4-fold reduction in the ability of vaccinated blood to neutralize this variant is pretty much 3 times higher than we saw with the beta variant. And let's not forget, if you look at the detail, this is blood from people who were vaccinated just 2 weeks before. So that they would be at the most highest level of antibody that they could possibly have. So I think we should be very careful in interpreting this as that it provides, with 2 shots at least, any kind of shield. I suspect within a month or 2 after vaccination, you probably have pretty much nothing in terms of protection against an infection. Now, will boosters help? Well, they have some other data that suggests that perhaps boosters will give you the level of antibodies that should be able to neutralize for a while. And then, of course, you have the possibility of a new vaccine for Omicron.
Sam, I thought I was reading this story negatively, and you've made me even more gloomy again, saying that double vaccination won't really provide that much help, and we really need boosters. Another question I want to focus on, because I do think the market has been confused, being so optimistic about this report. The other part is that I would have thought that given the lag in illness after initially contracting the disease, that we're going to have much more confidence on the contagious element, or how contagious the Omicron variant is, before we're going to have any confidence about what the impact is in terms of severity of disease. Is that correct, or is that wrong? Will we find it out all the same time just by testing what the protein looks like?
Yeah, no, Mark, you're very right there. It would be, I think, soon or already we have a feel that this is a much more transmissible virus. But don't forget that if the data's right and you don't have much protection from a previous infection or a double vaccination or double shot, then that adds to the issue that those people aren't protected. You'll see more infections. And remember, please, we're talking about infections here, not disease severity. And that's driven by a whole other area of the immune system. And I suspect that we'll have a good level of protection against severe disease, even with 2 shots. But that data, as you rightly say, will take some time to come. So I think we already have a good feel that it's more transmissible, or it is fitter and more infectious. But whether the severity is worse or less, et cetera, I think this week and next is when we'll find out that information, probably most likely out of South Africa again.
OK, what a festive gift for us all then, Sam, depending on which way this goes. I mean, a 40-fold reduction in levels of neutralizing antibodies, that's what you were referring to and suggesting that is a disappointing result then, I think you're suggesting. What about T cells? Because I know that this is another part of the body's response that we need to keep an eye on and think about when it comes to vaccines.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, there was one study that did a computational analysis of where the areas of the virus that T cells attack, where those known areas are, and whether those are mutated in Omicron. And they found that, again, a relatively high 30% were potentially impacted, but that still leaves 70%. And T cells are pretty good at, just like antibodies are, evolving. So I'm hopeful that that part of the immune system will still give us pretty.
They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back, so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
It's a big club. And you ain't it. Hey guys, this is Tommy. Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? We're having a little chat about the issues today. A few issues that I wanted to go over. Some of them are alarming, some of them are blatant, transparent, usurping of the power of the people. Like, every day, like, it's gone more and more towards the precipice of a dystopian future. Did you know that I tried to share a 1984 GIF on Facebook? They said it was against their community standards. It's hilarious. The control of information, the control of our lives, the monitoring of us. Sometimes I wonder why. Sometimes I wonder what it's all for. You already have control. You already... all the people think that this is the greatest country ever, and we're a democracy, and that's going to therefore keep us from a totalitarian, authoritarian state. But as Benjamin Franklin said, this democracy, where the politicians have the power, and have usurped for themselves the reins of government, from the very engines which brought them to unjust dominion. After they did that, guys, it's like Benjamin Franklin said, it's like two wolves and a sheep wondering what to eat for lunch. That's where we're at, guys. We're at a nation of sheep, ruled by pigs, owned by wolves. And the wolves have come out of the closet, and so have the puppets of the rich, guys. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's leadership meeting on Monday evening, Democratic senators hotly debated how to handle their two biggest unfinished tasks. Of course, you guys know that the Build Back Better Act is floating its way through Senate, went back to Sanders put it into the House of Representatives with paid leave, with child daycare, progressive policies. It's left the House of Representatives with no progressive policies. But they're not discussing the moral question about how healthcare during a pandemic would have been to do. How the left means equity and equality and a hand down. I mean, leftist principles. Joe Biden's repulsed by those guys. He is. Why do you think he said he'd veto Medicare for all day one? I don't know how many times the guy can tell you who he is until you believe him. But he's telling you every second, and so is the Democratic Party. While they're talking about Medicare expansion, while they're talking about what they were talking about during the campaign, which was, what was it? Obamacare expansion, guys? Have you seen any of that? You seen any Obamacare expansion? Have you? It's an honest question. What I've seen is not Obamacare expansion. I haven't seen Medicare expansion. What I've seen is the funneling of wealth to the 1% that own more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. Now, as they do this, Bill Gates and the elites are buying up farmland while real farmers are going hungry. There's a food shortage. How? But guys, Manchin's not yet committed to the $1.7 trillion. There's too much climate. There's too much pork, he says. It's too high. It's still too high. He brought it down from $3.5 trillion to $1.7 trillion. With no progressive policies, the real president of the United States appears not to be satisfied. Come on, man. Look, buddy. Were you in Iowa, Manchin? Because in Iowa, Joe Biden said he was going to expand Medicare. He said he was going to decriminalize marijuana. Do y'all remember that? Where is it? Instead of that, guys, we have the CARES Act, which brought untold income inequality in the United States to the Gilded Age. 8 million households slipped into poverty. Mortgages and evictions moratoriums are looming. The American people, guys, it's just starting to look hopeless. Now, thankfully, I talked to Andrew Z. Smith, Action for Assange. As bad as it is with journalism, with truth, decency, and morality, and principles and values, guys, we still have people like Andrew fighting the good fight, protesting, and giving me hope that we can change things, guys, if we just stand up. Because it's still a consensual ordeal. Or is it? That's the question, guys. Because we have these people. I mean, when 8 million households slip into poverty, when 80% of the country lives paycheck to paycheck, and then your employers tell you that you're going to be fired if you don't take a vaccine, is that a choice? It's a very interesting question that I constantly ask. You know, it's the same kind of question like I ask about the student loans. When you're 18 years old and you just want to go into college because you want to make something of yourself, and you think that when you graduate from college, you're going to have a good job. You're going to be able to pay off those loans easy. But then you graduate from college. Joe Biden's president of the United States. Inflation's busting his ass. The dollar has no value. We're in 8 foreign wars, and you're still waiting. We're still waiting tables, even though you have a college degree, because there's a labor shortage, but nobody's hiring. Nobody's hiring. Oh, you mean the people that have good, safe working conditions aren't hiring? The people that have living wages aren't hiring? Oh, yeah, the same old people are hiring, guys. There is a labor shortage. There's a labor shortage in Walmart. There's a labor shortage in all of these crappy, shitty companies that don't give a shit about their employees and buy our politicians so they can extract the resources and wealth from the middle class. At those companies, guys, the Waltons, I don't know if y'all made it to Walmart during the Christmas season. You got 2 cashiers and a whole bunch of lines, guys. It's hilarious, guys. I'm going off on a tangent, but it's very interesting this Christmas season, and I just want to talk about this. How things always hit me during the holidays of how this is so orchestrated. For instance, like March 2021, COVID pandemic hit. We got locked down, right? So July came around. Everybody had the plexiglass up. Everybody had the masks on. People were wearing like gloves and shit, like rubber gloves. And I would go to buy some fireworks at the grocery store. While I'm trying to slip my credit card through the plexiglass window, this cashier's like, "Happy Independence Day." I'm just like literally, it hit me right then. How ironic. How ironic. Happy Independence Day. What are you free from? What are we free from? It's a prison for your mind, yeah. It's a prison for your mind. And sharecropping for your wallets, guys. That's what neoliberalism gives us. This Christmas holiday season, I see everybody wanted to buy presents, even though inflation is hitting everybody hard. 71% of the country said in a Gallup poll that they have hardships this season because of the rising prices in gas and food. And, the supply chain, guys, has been disrupted, which has made many restaurants go out of business, guys. Because if you don't have the food to sell at the restaurant, guess what? You don't make the money. You don't make the revenue. It's caused a massive chain reaction. And everybody's hurting so hard. But they're still at Walmart trying to buy those Christmas presents because they want to be good people. They want to make their kids happy, and they think that if they buy these material goods that they consume, and then they put the lights on the house, even though they're exhausted from 50-hour shifts that don't pay a living wage, it's gonna still be Christmas, guys. It's still America. It's still gonna be Christmas. I don't know how I can describe, guys, the feeling of two cashiers in a Walmart with all of these auto pay registers. They don't give a shit about us, and we're literally killing ourselves to buy their shit. It's just a profound thing, guys, when you walk into a Walmart during the Christmas season. It's a profound thing, guys. And it's profound at the White House, guys, because Joe Biden, obviously not in charge. We're trying to find out who is in charge. I guess it's the oligarchs. But Joe Manchin, he's like the rookie of the year. You would think this guy was like fucking Tim Duncan, Michael Jordan. He's been in every meeting with every big-headed leadership Democratic bigwig for the entire time Joe Biden's been president. So those of us that are talking about how Bernie Sanders has his ear and how he was going to do all these progressive things, guys, at the back of your minds, I know you knew that wasn't true. You sounded really dumb when you said it, and I quietly just ignored you. But now can you understand the situation that we're at? And when I say these things, guys, it's not to belittle, it's not to call you stupid, it's not to argue or divide. It's to just really take stock into a profound chasm of our principles, values, our sovereignty, and our prosperity, guys. All the things that George Washington warned about in his farewell address, guys, it's happened. It's happening. It is come to be. It's a prophecy that has been fulfilled by Joseph Elizabeth Biden, guys. And while the Democrats are still lying and obfuscating the blame, even though they have the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they're still talking about voting rights. Now this new thing, they're trying to do a Voting Rights Act. How ironic. They're trying to do a Protect Democracy Act. They voted out all of the things to keep accountability. The AOC had the amendments. They voted them all down. Do they really want to protect democracy, guys? Well, Biden's presidency has set expectations sky high because, of course, he was going to be the new FDR, right? He was going to unite the country, right? He was going to fight for the soul of America because Orange Man bad. He was a vulgar, disgusting, sexist, Russian asset, Assad apologist. And now that the Orange Man is gone, we have a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill that has passed. I guess it's working. It's making its way around with the contractors. We have an NDAA that is rising. The budget has risen for the military, guys, consecutively every year for the past 20 years. Do y'all know that? So when you're talking about how inflation's because of the stimulus checks that you got, the $1,200 checks, the $600 checks, you think that's the reason that inflation's going on, guys? I need you to open your eyes. I need you to realize that in 48 hours, they bailed out the banks, Wall Street, and the military-industrial complex in 48 hours, while they were piddling around trying to get us $600 for the COVID relief bill. While they were trying to find 2 vague-ass articles of impeachment to try to stop Donald Trump from wheeling money out of the Treasury for the Republican Party. And for a time, Democrats had the House, the Senate, the presidency, and they were robbing us solo. And then Mitch McConnell was pissed. He was so pissed, guys. Y'all remember. Yeah. Party line votes, the COVID relief bill, guys. Not one Republican voted for it. Now, remember when minimum wage was in the COVID relief bill, and the Senate parliamentarian took that out? So let me get this straight: you don't get one single Republican vote, Democrats, and you still took minimum wage out of the bill. So guys, if you 2 + 2 is 4, think about this. If they wanted us to have a minimum wage increase, they could have passed it. They weren't looking for one single Republican vote. They didn't get it. They still took out minimum wage, and they blamed the Senate parliamentarian. This rotating villain, it's old. This funneling of the wealth, it's killing us. I don't know what else to say, guys. But I do know that we have still even more crises underway. And it has to do with, of course, the coronavirus Omicron variants. There's never going to be a stop to this, guys. It's never going to stop. One thing the conservatives are right about, they said it from day one. My friend Veronica, she was like, once we put these masks on, it's not going to end. Well, you were right, Veronica. What you don't understand is the reason why it's not going to end is not because of the virus. It's not because of the distinct minorities. It's not because of the insurrectionists. It's because you can't let a good crisis go to waste. So what about an endless crisis? What if we're always in a state of panic and emergency and fear? What if we have labor shortages and crises all day long? Then, I guess you're going to trust these Democrats and Republicans with the emergency powers that they need to rob us all even more. And now they're not even looking to rob us, guys. They're looking to literally control our lives. If you don't think that's true, well, I don't know. I really don't. With every single crisis that's on since the COVID pandemic, and guys, there's been a lot. There's been an economic crisis, a health crisis, a crisis of income. There's been an evictions crisis. There's been a border crisis. With every crisis that's come, guys, we've had more and more laws, bills passed from the House of Representatives, not progressive bills, but bills that give this government the power to usurp the reins from the American people and cover themselves from the very entrance which brought them to unjust dominion. That's their new game, guys. And it really is simple, and it's in the dictionary under political party. It's called maintaining power. Maintaining the status quo. What way to maintain the status quo than to have everyone afraid and relying on them for help? Well,
Biden's visit to hard-hit Kentucky touring the devastation after the deadly outbreak of tornadoes that left so much destruction. The president met with Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear this morning. Biden's visit to hard-hit Kentucky touring the devastation after the deadly outbreak of tornadoes that left so much destruction. The president met with Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear this morning and later traveled to Mayfield, one of the hardest struck areas, getting a view from the sky of the damage. He's also expected to speak this afternoon. We will bring that to you live when it gets started. But now let's bring in ABC News political director Rick Klein and ABC News correspondent Rena Roy joining us with more. Thank you both for joining us. And Rick, what is the president's focus here as he tours the devastation today?
I think he had a couple of main points that he wanted to make, Kenneth. One is that he's committed to making sure the federal government delivers on whatever it can, making clear to the governor of Kentucky that any resource he's having trouble with, he should contact him directly. The communications from him since starting over the weekend have been anything that Kentucky needs and others who were impacted by the tornadoes need, they're going to get. The other one, I think, carries a little bit more of a political message. And he said earlier today, there's no red tornadoes, there's no blue tornadoes. And that message of this being bigger than politics, I think, is an important one to deliver at this polarized time with the nation on edge and with politics playing such a big role in everyone's lives, knowing that this is a more conservative part of the country. This is not a state that supported him. He's there on the ground nonetheless and trying to say that this is bigger than politics and this is a time for the country together. It dovetails nicely with the broader political message that he brings. But of course, it comes at a moment of just unbearable and unspeakable tragedy for the people of those communities.
And Rena, you're in one of those communities, Mayfield, one of the hardest hit areas. We still can't believe the pictures we're seeing there. What is the situation like? What's the president seeing today?
Well, Terry, as we know and as we've seen, tragedy has really just struck this entire area, this small town of Mayfield, this state, this region. But it's this story right here at this home that is truly just heartbreaking. If you walk with me up these stairs here, you'll see that this used to be the steps to somebody's front door. But take a look at it now. It is just a pile of rubble, a pool table, a crib, this entire home just ripped to shreds. And this is where a neighbor tells us a 3-year-old died in the storm. And there are just so many countless stories of heartbreak that we are hearing up and down this block, all around this town since we got to this area shortly after the storms touched down this weekend. We have been hearing from so many people about their loss. And it's also the cleanup and the rebuilding that we've been seeing so much of. Over the past several days, we have seen firsthand crews. They are working around the clock. It is really a 24/7 operation, day and night. We've seen families just salvaging through whatever they can, cleaning up what they can. They have their loved ones coming from near and far to try and help them. And as we've heard the governor say several times now, this is really just the beginning, and this will likely take years. Guys?
And Rick, keeping our eye on the political optics.
The Senate parliamentarian, the social spending bill, they promised, the Democrats promised, just like they promised the checks out the door day one with Warnock and the Senate, just like they promised that they would expand Medicare, just like they promised that they would decriminalize marijuana, they just like promised that private prisons wouldn't get any more government funding. They're also promising this, guys. The parliamentarian is still reviewing the key elements of these House-passed proposals. Interesting. To my calculations, these could comply with Senate rules. Now that they don't have progressive legislation. Very interesting. Well, good. Potentially, they claim to make more changes, guys. Of course, they need to make more changes because these bills are shit. The Senate parliamentarian, so far, thinks that they're up to peak. Absolutely no progressive legislation. Check. Giveaways for the 1% that own more wealth than about 90%. Joe Manchin's perfectly fucking happy. Check. All the amendments that hold accountability to the executive branch and the Congress, all not adopted. Check. Well, let's move on. What did that news reporter say? It's going to be a long road. It's going to be a non-ending affair. Well, how convenient for government. How convenient for government that you need their help. I swear to God, I am a progressive. And I believe that a government can work for the people and not just a few. Just like Bernie said. But I swear to God, guys, as this pandemic continues to go, and as I continue to watch this Congress rob the American people and take our tax dollars and funnel that money to foreign aid, to their donors and to the military-industrial complex and Wall Street. The more I see this, it smacks me in the face so hard, guys. I kind of start to feel like this government shouldn't fucking, we shouldn't have power. Okay, we should, small government. That's what I'm trying to say, guys. Small government. This government, small government. Nancy Pelosi running again for Speaker of the House. Running again. She's 81. She's an octogenarian. That's what Jimmy Dore said. Octogenarian. I think that means she's in her 80s. That was a funny word. She's 80-something. She could barely fucking sling a sentence together. Whether she be drinking wine from Napa Valley or just drunk on the fact that she literally destroyed President Trump. She's been in charge this whole time. There ain't gonna be no bill. I mean, that woman literally wins all day long. She's got a net worth of $500 million. And she could retire, but she's not, because can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop, guys. What would you do without Nancy Pelosi? It's like when Hook says, what would the world be like without Captain Hook? And Hook? Oh, it would be better. It would be better. Hook, actually. No more Hook. No more Hook. That's what I'm saying when Nancy Pelosi finally gets the fuck out of the Congress. No more Nancy. The people who will vote for her in her district, by the way, Shahid Buttar ran against her. She blew him out of the water, bro. It was like a 90% electoral victory to her. So whatever she's doing in her district, I guess, maybe she's baking cookies? I have no idea what the fuck. How did she get reelected, bro? I have no idea. Someone was on the chat, let me know. If you have a guess, how these cretins and these thieves, these public rich get reelected year after year after year, even though they're hated throughout the entire country. Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Manchin. These people are hated throughout the entire country. Do states really like them that much? I don't get it. I don't get it, guys. But what I also don't get is how we still keep believing these politicians and their promises, even though they don't have to deliver. It's been fixed, guys. This two-party system has fixed it so that they could just lie to us every single election year. And then when they get into the office, they are ruled by the lobbyists, their donors, and their delusions of grandeur. It's been happening year after year after year. I would say it's like Samson and Delilah, but this is literally the worse. Like, this is if Delilah cut Samson's hair off for 20 years, and Samson just kept on fucking telling her what the key to the strength. Like, even Samson got it after the first time. Us, we're still not getting it, bro. We're still deep mired into the games, the political circus. Antifa, Black Lives Matter. Who was at the insurrection? I don't know, guys. What I think should have been the insurrection is us, we the people. We should take our house back. That's our house. We should take it back. That wasn't there. I don't think that Black Lives Matter was at the insurrection. I don't think Antifa was at the insurrection. I don't think the right-wingers were at the insurrection. I think the FBI was at the insurrection. I think that every single thing, pretty much after 9/11, that's been fucked up, has been a clear case of the FBI and the CIA having so much power, being a deep state mob, and really not giving a shit about it. Remember, after Trump revoked the clearance of Brennan, he made up that Russian dossier story, and Rachel Maddow fed it to you, and you believed it. You believed it without even evidence, without seeing the tape. You believed it because Hillary Clinton was right there talking about how he's a he's a sexist, and that's why she didn't win, because all of the Russians and the sexists and the Bernie Bros made sure that Hillary Clinton, the good little princess that never killed Seth Rich or had dead pictures of Gaddafi or pretty much rigged the primaries against Bernie Sanders, she was good the whole time. Didn't do any of that, guys. She didn't put Pied Piper strategy, elevate Donald Trump as serious candidate, instruct the media on 4/15/2000. She didn't do any of that, guys. This was all what you might think that's what she did, guys, but really what she did was she was a good little person, and you just need to be instructed like she instructs the media. The gatekeepers need to instruct you on what you're seeing because you don't have the historical context. That's what she told Rachel Maddow. We don't know what we're seeing without the historical context, gatekeepers, to tell us what we're seeing. Well, let me tell you what I see, guys. And I'm going to make it as short and sweet as I possibly can So actually, guys, I don't have any guesses. I'm tired. I'm really tired of talking about it. I don't like to be a complainer, but the same things keep happening, guys. It's almost like we need to take care of the issues. So Chucky the Chuck Schumer, guys, had a meeting talking about the social spending bill, which is not really a social spending bill. The Build Back Better Act passing through the Senate seems to be, what was the Build Back Better Act is now Darth Vader, more machine now than man, a Trojan horse of neoliberal globalism. And they're promising to pass that right out to you before Christmas. Right out to you. Now, of course, these guys never keep their deadlines. When was the last time these parties ever kept a deadline? They fight up to the day on the government ceiling, guys. Every time the government's about to shut down, they fight up to the hour. Unless Wall Street, the banks, and the military-industrial complex need to be buffered with stock market government money in 48 hours, these guys are going to take months and months and months and months. So I think it's hilarious every time they promise to do something before Christmas. It's hilarious. They don't give a shit, and they won't. They are going to go to Martha's Vineyard, and they're not going to give a shit about you. But something even more important than, of course, them virtue signaling about Medicare and your fucking right to vote, which they don't give a shit about. And doing all this, of course, because they're afraid they're going to lose their fucking majority because they've been completely incompetent and haven't done a goddamn thing since they've had the supermajority in the government. So, of course, it's like when your mom tells you to clean the room and you don't clean the room and she comes home and your room's still a mess. Well, the midterms are coming. And clearly, Joe Biden is a dementia-riddled old man. So we know what's going to happen. Mom's going to come home and you're grounded, bro. You're grounded. Mitch McConnell back in the fucking majority. And the Republicans already have their pet projects. Y'all don't want to guess what those are? China. They're hand in hand with infrastructure, guys. Infrastructure could mean anything to anybody. It's a word that I believe a politician made up. Infrastructure. It could mean so many things. I'm going to infrastructure you guys right now. I'm going to infrastructure you guys on how this little filibuster thing that they want to get rid of, they're not pushing for that anymore. Did y'all notice that? Did y'all notice they're not pushing for the end of the filibuster anymore? Did you notice they're speaking candidly on, a majority, and they're asking the Republicans nicely, please don't use the filibuster. Please don't use the filibuster for this budget reconciliation. Let me tell you guys, why would the fucking Republicans use the filibuster? They love this shit, too. It's hilarious, guys. It's a WWF thing. Well, please don't use the filibuster now that we've taken all the progressive legislation out of the bill. Please don't use the filibuster. Oh, we might use the filibuster. They're not going to use the fucking filibuster. They're going to fucking hand in hand rob us together with this little infrastructure fucking act. And oh my god, if it wasn't for Joe Manchin or whatever, Senate parliamentarian, we might have had paid family leave, we might have had a student loan forgiveness, we might have had a minimum wage increase, we might have had decriminalization of marijuana, we might have had a Green New Deal, but if it wasn't for those, God, they could have used the filibuster, so I had to take that out of the bill. Don't y'all know they could have used the filibuster? Guys, it sucks. So the reason why I live stream today, guys, it's a big club and we're not in it. But what really grinds my gears the most is that they literally, it's like dancing on the backs of a dead horse. So now that they're letting the corporations pretty much run rampant over the middle class, they've established a deadline for the vaccine mandates on an executive order level, guys. Yes, executive order level. You must be vaccinated by this day or there shall be consequences. What are the consequences, guys? I don't know. But let me tell you, they released a whole bunch of JFK files to distract you from the fact that they might lock you up for not being vaccinated. I don't know, guys. What are the consequences? What are the consequences? We don't know. Nancy Pelosi says we have to pass the bill to find out what's in it. Who knows what the consequences are, guys? But in a statement to Politico, guys, while they're declassifying the JFK files and talking about the sworn secrecy of their clearances, and they're jerking off to the flag and talking about how this is all national security. This pandemic is a what did Joe Biden say? This pandemic is a correlation to national security, guys. We're under attack. Don't y'all know? So that means, I guess, more executive orders, more emergency powers, more government mandates, more that are helped along by the corporatocracy. It's very intriguing, guys. But on an interesting side note, guys, there are some interesting things about those Kennedy declassification documents. Some stuff about Mexico, and the CIA has been determined to keep like a lot of things secret for like the last 6 decades about it. Probably because they killed him. But there's this thing called the Warren Commission that has, I guess, declassified those. I think the CIA was going to declassify these documents about JFK. They were going to leave a lot out. What they ended up doing, what they always end up doing, guys, when they don't want us to know something for a long time until it's too late, like with Afghanistan, is they do a dump. They do a fucking information dump. So like, the journalists and the mainstream media are too lazy to look through dumps of like information. So they'll just pick out little squirrels and they'll be fine, right? And by the time people realize what's really in that dump, it's going to be too late. Oh, it turns out we didn't have a fucking objective in Afghanistan, right? When the New York Times printed that, oh, it's been 20 years. Somebody should have told us sooner. So they did a press dump, guys, on these files, and while we're all looking through that, the corporations are taking the lead of the president, and they're enforcing these mandates or firings, and maybe other consequences. Maybe these consequences are... I always ask why, guys. What are the consequences? If you agree with these vaccine mandates, guys, what do you think the consequences should be of someone who's not vaccinated? That's an interesting question I'd like to ask you guys. What should the consequence be if they're not vaccinated? What do you think they should do? What do you think should happen to these guys if they choose not to be vaccinated? Because they're not good people, right? They're killing your kids. So, Joe Biden said this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Turns out, in Reuters, the most people getting this variant are vaccinated people. Because most people in the country, I guess, are vaccinated. So, how is this still a pandemic of the unvaccinated? Are they still killing your kids? I took the Moderna because I talked to my doctor, and it took me a while. I don't have regrets, but let me just tell you guys, if this ever happens again, let's just never make the politicians in any way related to a pandemic, because this was like the most horrible thing that could have ever happened. They were already taking our fucking treasure and blood all over the Middle East in 8 foreign wars. Now they're doing infrastructure all over the globe, trying to catch up with China. It's amazing, guys. We put wings on the Democrats and Republicans with this shit. So, what's next? You got me. But let's be free thinking, innovative, and totally open-minded, guys. Because help is not coming. Help is not coming. Help is already here. It's us. We have to stand, because there will be no one else to stand if we don't. If Google fires employees for, not having the vaccinations, or is that an American principle that we really want to endorse? Or do we want to endorse life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness? I'm saying that as a vaccinated person, guys. What are our principles and values? What do we want to represent in this country? What do we want? We always talk about what this country means, what this country stands for, right? Stand for the flag. Why do we stand for the flag? What does the flag represent? To me, the flag represents a rebellion, a free-thinking mind that said we will have no taxation without representation. We want to be a part of this country because we are human beings and we have those rights given by God, inalienable rights, life, liberty, and happiness. What kind of message do you send to our society with mandates that ended firings or even worse punishments, incarceration. What do we say to that? Does that endorse the inalienable life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Does that endorse our Lockean liberalist principles, guys? Does that endorse what this country stands for? When we stand for the flag, guys, is that what we're standing for? We're standing for division, for hate, for totalitarianism? Are we standing for the end of that? The end of a monarchy? The beginning of something new? Independence, guys. Remember? Out of many, one. 13 colonies, all drank tea differently, dressed differently, hated each other, even talked, had different accents. They all came together in Philadelphia and signed a Declaration of Independence. That was not a one-off, guys. That's our heritage, and it's inside us. And all I like to say, guys, is while this big club is doling out the rules and the punishments and the consequences, I'm looking for the people that remember that, because that's the club that I'm proud to be in. Domination Politics.